Hello there, patrons. This is season 5, episode 11 of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. It has been 2 months, unfortunately, since the last time I'd seen episode 10 because I had gotten busy in October. I was just traveling a lot, and by the time I finished traveling, I got sick. And so here we are. I'm still sick, unfortunately. This code just doesn't want to go away, but at least it's not as bad as how it was in the beginning. The only thing that really I'm getting right now is just a clogged nose. So, if you hear me just breathing, being a mouth breather out there, it's because my nose is clogged, alright? Don't judge me. I did skim through episode 10 because I was like, okay, I need to figure out what the heck was going on in episode 10. And so I now know the ideas of the concept of episode 10, but I also wrote some notes for it. So I was looking through the notes and I was just thinking about how, like, oh, episode 10 was literally about the power of friendship and whatever, which, I mean, it has been reoccurrent throughout the She-Ra series, but consider that the only thing in my head right now is just Persona 5 Royal and Divinity 2, but if you just cross out Divinity 2 and only have Persona 5 Royal, the power of friendship really is just, it's real. At least in Persona 5, Anyways, I'm still not getting used to recording my stuff all in OBS, because, like, I usually just record the mic and the footage of the show on OBS, and then I have, like, a separate camera to record, so then I usually look at the camera, because, like, that's where the viewfinder is, but unfortunately it's not there, so I'm just staring at OBS, but I'm like, I need to stare at the camera lens instead. Last episode, Natasha managed to get what is her wife's name, because they're not girlfriends, they're married, Spinnerella. So Natasha managed to get Spinnerella. We also saw that Natasha is kind of like Batman, where she knows everybody's weakness, just in case, you never know. So we learned that Catra's weakness is water, Perfuma's weakness is her friends, because she is technically the strongest, but she holds back because she doesn't want to hurt them. Right, so we got Catra and Perfuma getting into a bit of scuffle over Scorpia. Understandable, right? Perfuma was the one who was talking the most with Scorpia, at least what we saw on screen anyways. So there's that whole spiel, and then Bo and Glimmer went onto their B-plot story, where they went to find Bo's dad, and Bo's dad found, they're trying to find the secrets to the first ones, and that they found that there's a failsafe that can destroy the heart for good, so, they can't use the weapon, and the enemies can't use the weapon either, but at the same time, if they do use the weapon, the planet gets destroyed, I think, somewhere around there, So Perfuma was going through this whole spiel where she was refusing to let people hurt Scorpia because she believes that there's still good in Scorpia, which is understandable because we've seen some moments from Catra, I believe, right? When she gets, she kind of break through her little haze, her little control of Horde Prime. So that's why she believed for Scorpia, and Perfuma was right in betting on Scorpia because Scorpia ended up letting them go towards the end of all of that. But Horde Prime also found a way to activate the heart without the princesses because he finally came to the planet himself because he was in space, the same as, I was gonna say She-Ra, Adora. Same person, I guess. But Adora and her friends, he's also been out space for a while, so he's finally decided, I'm gonna go on to this freaking planet, and then he's just like, you know what, these are some good techs. Well, not these are some good techs. These are familiar tech. I know how to fucking figure this out. Why didn't he just go on the planet and then just figure that out in the first place? I assume confidence in knowing that he probably could have just overpowered these princesses. But he found out that these princesses, this planet in general, is getting to him, and also his weakness is magic, so this is the only magical planet that's left, because Horde Prime is just like, fuck magic, I'm gonna destroy everything. Understandable, consider it's its weakness. Oh yeah, Perfuma did say her friendship is her strength, not her weakness. Which, again, the power of friendship and everything. And they said that they needed to go, and by they, I mean, like, the rebel group, they need to go to Artsia for the failsafe, and Shadow Weaver says that it is in Mysticore, so we get to see Catra interacting with what I just completely forgotten everybody's name. Shadow Weaver. There you go. Yeah, so we get to see Catra interacting with Shadow Weaver and just the fucking dynamic between Catra and Adora and Shadow Weaver again, right? Now that Adora and Catra have made up, right? They're not enemies anymore. There's still some rocky things between them in their relationship, but for the most part, Catra is now trying to be good, right? She did the first good thing she's ever done in this season, and now she's trying to go over to the world of good or whatever. You know, I should probably put my freaking mat, my anti-fatigue mat on here, because standing here like this is starting to hurt my knees. I'm getting old, unfortunately. I turned 29 this year. I turned 29 last month, technically, so I'm getting there. I'm getting close to hitting 30. That being said, the Asian genes still run strong in me, because people still assume I'm in fucking high school. Or that I'm just going to school in general, so who knows. Anyways, I need to stop rambling so much, and I also need to turn my phone on silent, because I forgot I broke my phone, so I had to get a new phone. Well, this is technically not a new phone, but I had a warranty for this that I didn't know I had a warranty for, and so I used that warranty to get me my phone fixed. But then they're also like, oh, well, if we can't fix your phone, we'll just send you a new one. And I think they just sent me a new one because they knew that the phone that I had was absolutely fucked beyond recognition. So I was like, never mind, let's just send you a new phone. That's why they fixed it so fast, you know? Okay. After all of this talking and kind of stalling, I'm going to get some water. I'll be right back. So I've started to realize that there were certain, also, if you see like the light suddenly going brighter and stuff, it's because I set this on auto. So if it gets bright all of a sudden, it's because of that. So I apologize if, I don't know, I suddenly turn white or whatever. Alright, folks, we are going to get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I guess we're going to Mysticore this episode, right? Just see. I've just completely forgotten what her name is. Mm. You. Oh, the lesser. Look at that little blush on Catra. Oh my god, they're bickering already. Arxia. Okay. Ah, yes. Oh, damn. She was contemplating. Yeah, gotta go find your gotta go find your girl and all that. God, this is such an awkward writing position. I'm just fuck. We're gonna win in the end. Oh, they're back and they're kissing. Spinnerella. Well, I mean, mm-hmm. She's the lesser of two evils, Katra. There you go. I was gonna say, I need you, like, what a fucking tsundere. Milog is just like, well, since you say that, more for me. Hmm. And oh, I don't know if we can survive. I don't know if Scorpia could survive. Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. Good for Entrapta. We'll see if that plan works. Why can't I remember her fucking name right now? It's oh my god. She's oh. All I'm thinking about is just whack her in the back of the neck. Yeah. It's a stealth mission, right? I'll do a stealth takedown. Oh, there's Micah. It's the first time she sees her dad IRL. He can't even be there to hug her. Oh. In moments when it's not that important. What was this person climbing up, though? I guess Entrapta is the B plot. Concentrative clones. Yeah! You might as well follow her. Bird horse. She's gotta look at her. Was that her statue that was covered in soot? The tension from not the spy mission. Cast a spell, that's her name. Yeah, it was his fault. Damn, girl, you fucking out here causing issues. Oh. Uh-oh. I mean, if you get captured by Prime, like... You know, now that I think about it, if he did manage to capture and trap them, like, everybody would have been fucked. Oh, is she gonna find, Hordak around here? Since Hordak technically did. That did sound like a Hordak sigh, though. I love that she's just like, I'm gonna take a couple steps. Damn, dude, Catra really just... Still not 100% She-Ra. Got Shadow Weavers, really just out here just... I gotta sow all these seed of doubt. Which means it's my business. That's right, you gotta get rid of all the earthly things. No, she just doesn't realize that she's in love with Catra yet. That's why she's unable to go into She-Ra. Oh, he's holding on to it. I mean, he's been holding on to it. Oh. 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 Sorry, so many fucking timestamps. Oh man, we need coders? Alright, Adora, get in there. Yeah, go in there. So, with the body also explodes. Well, this is a failsafe, so. Shadow Weaver's. Oh. Look, the body is gonna explode! This is like that decision in Baldur's Gate 3, you know? Except, yeah, except Shira. Whoops! Look at that. They're finally together, and Shadow Weaver's just out here like, anyways, go sacrifice yourself. It's the heroic thing to do. The lesser of two evils. Uh-oh. There's Micah. Damn. Look how cool he is, just fucking fighting with his hands behind his back. When it feels like it matters most, huh? Oh my god. What the hell? Alright, Adora, get in there! It doesn't always have to. Yeah, I was like, isn't this magic? I was thinking, All her friends getting hit with dark magic. Oh, that is Horde Prime in control right there. It's a ticking time bomb. Oh, off she goes. I'm just don't look. She-Ra could have just done a quick chop to the back of their neck. Just karate chop them all, you know? I know they have magic to get themselves out of there, but like, what if they get stuck? Hordak. Oh. Milok's like, where you going? Doesn't want to see Adora die, so she's out of here. Come on, man. Oh, up she goes. Oh, oh my god. She just wants you to be here with her, huh? When do you get to choose? Yeah, you don't need her here. Ooh. Alright, well, you know, Catra's out of here, you know, she'll be back in the next 2 episodes. I ain't got time to be standing here watching you become a ticking time bomb and then eventually burn yourself apart. Fuck it. That being said, you know, she's learned from the she's learned from the best. AKA Glimmer's mom. Anyways, holy shit, dude. I feel like my brain has processed this, but also it hasn't processed this at the same time. I feel like I need to put everything on notes, so I'll be right back. I'm gonna write out these notes. I completely forgot that I wanted to make this comment, but I forgot what Castastella's name was, so I was just like, I didn't know how to direct it to. But you see how she comes walking in? Look at her. She's in her walking pretty pose with your hands like this. She's keeping her hands cute, dude. Just from this screenshot alone, you know that Milog knows that Catra has a crush on her. That statue covered in soot. I can't see. It's obviously blocked out, but is that her? Because like I remember, by her I mean Shadow Weaver. Yeah, that's like the first statue. Yeah, I think that should be Shadow Weaver's statue, but it's covered in soot or whatever in the close up. Okay, compared to every other statue, nobody cleans this one. Oh, is this since Shadow Weaver was talking about, oh, why you gotta keep talking about my past? So this is the dark magic. I think if I remember there were, because I was like, this looks like a bunch of robots to me, you know, but I don't know, those might be the lips. I can't remember how the dark magic stuff was going on. Anyways. Alright, so that was Season 5, Episode 11 of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. You know that I always like talking to you guys. For me, I thought that this was a pretty good episode. Honestly, all these, Season 5, in general, I feel like Season 5 is just an absolute banger. Just a lot of things just coming together, and I'm like, yes, but also, you know, the gay has just been amped up by like 100% in this season, I feel like. and just seeing Catra and Adora's relationship with each other. Obviously, there's still rough edges around the corner, but they're not like separated. I mean, that being said, this the final scene of this episode with frickin' Catra parting ways with Adora because she doesn't want to fucking see Adora die. So it's just like, it's a very, you know, kind of, no, I mean, in when you look at it in Catra's shoes, right? A bit of a fair perspective in the fact that, like, hey, you are now taking on this fucking ticking time bomb. I may or may not like you. I don't know about my feelings. Still very confused, but obviously I care very much about you, and I don't want to see you walk to your death, essentially, right? I don't want you to go and sacrifice yourself. I don't want to have to go and fucking see that. Meanwhile, Doris is like, come on, Catra, come and watch me sacrifice myself to everybody. But you know what? I mean, I was gonna say I'm gonna work backwards, but I think there's a lot of things that I really want to talk about. I mean, especially with like the dynamic between Shadow Weaver and Catra and Adora, right? It's literally like we're just in season 1 all over again. and Adora is just out here like, oh, don't worry, trust me, Catra, trust me. She can't tear us apart any longer. And then Shadow Weaver does exactly that. Who would have thought Shadow Weaver's a fucking professional when it comes to storing shit up? You know what? Let's talk about Shadow Weaver and her fucking storing shit up, man. Shadow Weaver is, one of the first things I wanted to talk about was, Castaspella talking about all of the history, well, not all the history, but like, you know, the whole thing of like, oh, look at all this magic. Obviously, some people couldn't access it, so they try other means, aka the dark magic, the spell of attainment that we've seen for the episode with Shadow Weaver, right? Shadow Weaver and Micah, anyways. Shadow Weaver's just like, look, dog, why you gotta keep bringing this up, alright? I've already paid my dues. Stop pouring salt in the wound, okay? This wound's old now. You can't even get the salt in it. But Castaspella has a problem with it because she brought in her brother at the time, right? He could have been killed, whatever, yada yada. But Shadow Weaver goes in for the fucking kill in the idea of like, well, he was actually really good at magic. He's like a fucking genius, you know? So great. Too bad that it couldn't run in the family. Yo, absolutely savage, dude. Like, I will say, they really did good with Shadow Weaver, because, like, when it comes to any other characters who do this, not the storing up shit, but, like, her relationship with Catra, and Adora so fucking manipulative, and I'm just like, if it were anybody else, I'd be like, I fucking hate you, but like, they did a really good job with Shadow Weaver in the fact that I'm like, yeah, I know that you're a really shitty person, but I can't help but like you, you know? You just got that sass, and I'm like, it's great. We can see that Shadow Weaver, again, she continues to try to put her grimy little hands on Adora, and we see her do that more than once in this episode, where she keeps putting her hands on Adora, specifically like on her shoulder, and then at some point she grabbed her hand as well, right? Trying to hit her with that motherly connection, right? That personal connection. Adora twice in this episode, I believe, where when Shadow Weaver does put her hands on her, Adora would just like swipe her hand away. A normal person with, I don't know, normal feelings and a good emotional understanding or whatever should at least be like, oh, okay, she doesn't want me to touch her on her shoulders. But obviously, Shadow Weaver continues to do it because she's just like, look, it's working. It certainly is working, for sure. But she sees Catra, she continues to see Catra, actually, as a burden. And consider that is literally Catra's childhood the whole time, where she feels like if she wasn't around Adora, that she is just a burden to everybody, especially Shadow Weaver, who she tried to, get her respect, get her approval of, only to find out in, like, what, season 2 or season 3 or something, only to find out that, shit, she's never going to actually show me that, never mind, This sucks. So, like, that goes for Catra being, like, extremely paranoid, towards Shadow Weaver, knowing that she is scheming everything, and, Catra is also a schemer, so, like, she technically did learn from Shadow Weaver. As per usual, I've forgotten to say something during the recording, and I've only noticed it now during editing, so here I am. The thing that I was talking about and how Catra learns from Shadow Weaver, and obviously, even though they didn't have a great relationship, Catra still sees Shadow Weaver as a mother figure, so she picks up the traits of Shadow Weaver, and those traits are her doing her scheming, right? Her cunningness and whatnot, albeit, that's also part of Catra, but, she also learns the ways of Shadow Weaver. And so here is Adora, who is also learning from Shadow Weavers, just in a different way than Catra. Or in this example that I'm trying to make, is that the similarity, but again, it's just the traits that she learns from Shadow Weaver, and it's the unfortunate thing where you, if you live long enough with these people, even if you know that they're your abuser, you end up picking up these traits, even if you don't want it, and you might not even realize it. Towards the end, when Adora and Catra are fighting, and Catra is just like, "What do you want to do? I want to know what you want to do," and Adora just says, "I have to do this. I'm the only one who can." And immediately after that scene, when Shadow Weaver comes over and she's like, "Oh, you made the right decision, Adora," right? And Adora's just like, "Yeah, get your hands off. You've ruined people's lives. You've ruined everything you touch. What are you trying to do now? What, it can't, or whatever, like, why are you doing something?" Hold on, let me, one second. Okay. I just had to take a look at it again. Adora said, "Haven't you done enough?" And Shadow Weaver responds with, "I had to do what I had to do." And it kind of just clicked in my head about, like, wow, that does sound familiar to what Adora literally just did in the previous scene, where she says, "I have to do this." And so that's a similar answer to which I have to do what I have to do. And it's not a good answer, but it's that similarity in between Adora and Shadow Weaver. It's just that Adora hasn't recognized that yet. She's able to, and it's easy to see other people's mistakes, except for yourself. Most of the time, for most people, unless you're introspective and you're just like, all the problems are me. But I thought that was a nice little thing to touch, to point out. This video may or may not be going on a little bit too long, but here I am to add a little bit more, a few more seconds into it. Anyways. Oh yeah, there's the other thing with Castaspella saying that Shadow Weaver is the lesser of two evils. And then Catra's like, well, at least you know that she's evil. I love it, dude. I love it. Just Catra just coming in and just like, yeah, fuck Shadow Weaver. Why do we still have her around here, huh? But there was a point when they were walking through that fire hallway, Shadow Weaver tells Adora, hey, you need to let go of all these, essentially, you need to let go of all these things that tethers to you to this world. Somewhere around there, you know? Like, you've got all these connections, and they are pulling you down. And this is like a rehash, almost, of the last episode in terms of the power of friendship. But it's also something that has been global throughout this whole season, especially with the way that Horde Prime brings it up, right? It's like, oh, you Ethereans, so emotional and shit, you know? And so that's essentially what Shadow Weaver says, right? It's the same shit as Horde Prime, where he says emotions equals bad. Catra specifically, right? She points out that it's Catra specifically that is holding Adora back. She's the one that's making you all confused. And, like, maybe instead of instead of just letting her go because, like, oh, you confuse me, I'm gonna let you go, right? How about we try to figure out this confusion and, like, solve the problem instead of just tossing it away. That being said, I know why Shadow Weaver says that, because she does not give a shit about Catra, but also this is we are currently still in an invasion right now, and we need to solve that problem first. So, like, I get why she said that. But again, if you were a reasonable person, you'd be like, maybe we should, like, sit down and talk about all of this shit, you know? But there is one thing that not to say that I noticed just now, but it's something that I've been thinking about as well. It's the fact that Adora tends to divert, but she doesn't particularly stand up to Catra when Shadow Weaver is, like, dogging on her. And I only have one scene in mind right now, but I believe it kind of goes through in their like childhood and, like, season 1 when they see their childhood and stuff. I believe, but, you know, feel free to correct me on this. But but the one scene that I do remember in this episode, right, was when Catra got touched by Shadow Weaver, because Shadow Weaver sees somebody going up, and she's just like, hey, shut up, keep your voice down. And Catra flinches, she freaks out, because she does not want Shadow Weaver touching her. Understandable, you know, she's literally an abused child, and she's still going through all her fucking trauma. So for the person who is the trauma point to come up and touch her like that, yeah, she's going to freak out. Understandably. And Shadow Weaver rags on her about that, and she's like, ooh, if only somebody wasn't causing a disturbance, we could have gone here a lot cleaner and a lot smoother. And Adora, instead of being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have fucking touched her, you know that she doesn't like you, somewhere around there, but, you know, that would actually involve Adora actually using her brain, but she just decided, no, come on, guys, we need to go. So she just diverts this and just diverts the attention to somewhere else instead of standing up for Catra. You know, I feel like Catra just gets all this abuse, and Adora's just like, alright, Catra, let's go, we gotta get out. You know, it's like that. It's this feeling of, like, Adora doesn't really understand that maybe, just maybe, that Catra feels a little hurt by all these words, okay? They say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me, or whatever that phrasing goes. But, you know, well, words hurt sometimes, especially from people that you once hold a high hopes for, or a person you once wanted respect for, you know, a person who you've been together for a while, even if it might have not been, like, super great. Again, Catra and Shadow Weaver. So there's that whole spiel with Shadow Weaver, and before I go and talk into the main thing, which is Catra and Adora, we do have our B plot with Entrapta, because Entrapta, she made a note that Spinnerella's chip had almost entirely fused to her nervous system. We kind of saw it with, like, the way that the green, you know, the green vines just keep getting bigger and bigger on the back of her, I believe. But the idea is that okay, these chips, they were different from Catra's. They're almost entirely fused, so that means that if they would be completely fused, then they wouldn't be able to take that out. They'd probably be in control of Horde Prime forever, unfortunately. So they need to work fast, and they need to try to get these chips out of them or whatever. But Entrapta has found a way to disconnect all the chips because Horde Prime works in a frickin' hive mindset, because I mean that's what he's been doing. This is all hive mind. So she figured that if she can find the wavelength or whatever, she can disconnect all the chips. And so that's gonna cause a little bit of mayhem on all the clones who are just like, whoa, freedom? What's going on? You know? Who knows? Maybe Hordak can take it up and be like, hey y'all, you know, let's fucking, he starts his own little riot on all the clones, you know? You never know. Swiftwind saw that Entrapta's going somewhere, and he just knows that she's not gonna take no for an answer. So he's like, alright, might as well take you there, and then I can take you out if you're in danger and whatever. And so Entrapta goes to a concentrated place with clones, and of course, since it's Entrapta, she sees Hordak again, since Hordak had also come to Earth along with Horde Prime. And Hordak, despite him going through the purification process and whatnot, and going through it twice, I think, right? He went through it once, and then he went through it twice because he remembered, Catra. I think that's what he was getting in trouble for, I think. But he goes through that again, but he still remembers Entrapta, even after all of this, right? He sees that little chip that Entrapta had, and he held on to it this whole entire time. Not even Horde Prime knew that he was holding on to it, I guess. He sees her, and he's just like, why do I feel like I know you? Why do I remember you? What, like, you know, like, it's just been in his hand. He's been holding it this whole time. It's just so great, dude. Like, I love, I said season 2 and 3 together is like my favorite seasons. I absolutely love those three. I love those two, and just seeing Entrapta and Hordak's relationship with one another is so good, right? And with Hordak and him being under control or being under Horde Prime, who values perfection and whatnot, right? And so Hordak, he felt like he was tossed aside, and then, you know, he fell into the portal where he goes into Entrapta, Etheria. And so he feels like he's imperfect, he's imperfect. And so for Entrapta to go saying season 2, season 3 again, for her to go and say that, like, these imperfections that you have are beautiful, and, you know, it's true, we all are not perfect, and all of our imperfections is what makes us all very unique. And so just the fact that as she was getting pulled away from Swiftwind, and Hordax is like, go, you know, maybe these feelings, these memories, these imperfections will go away if you leave me right now. And Entrapta just, it reminds him that his imperfection is beautiful, right? And we got the little sound effect, the little dun, you know, just to really let you know that, whoa, Hordak felt that in his kokoro. That whole little B plot that we've got, very nice, very short, I think. I always just enjoy interactions between Hordak and Entrapta. Very fun, very nice. And so, now that we're done with all of that, we are going to get right into the whole meat of things, which is fucking Catra and Adora, these two gay motherfuckers who are unable to realize that they are gay just yet, because, you know, there's so many other things going on right now. Shadow Weaver is here, the universe might get destroyed if Horde Prime gets the heart and whatever. Who cares about all of that? We've got some gay issues going on right now. So, in the beginning, when they see Shadow Weaver, and then, you know, they eventually agree, like, okay, you know, okay, we don't like you, but your solution, your area, we are looking for Artzia, and you seem like you said you know where it is, and I guess Castaspella is kind of here as, like, literally, I feel like Castaspella is just here for them to be like, okay, maybe we'll go with you, alright, you know, like, okay, or not maybe, okay, we will go with you, just because I think that's literally what Castaspella is there for. To try to convince them, because Shadow Weaver's just like, yeah, I don't know, I think they lost all trust of me at this point. I need somebody else to represent me. But knowing that they decide that they're going to go to Mysticor, Catra ends up running away. Well, she ran to her bed, and Adora has to go after her. And I love that Adora is talking about how, like, oh, we need to do this, we need to save Etheria, and Catra's like, I don't give a shit about Etheria, and she turns away from Adora, right? She only helps Adora, because Adora ends up saying, I could really use your help, which is a sense of independence, right? Because she was going to say, we could really use your help. And if she had said we, Catra would be like, she groups that with Shadow Weaver, right? And she'd be like, I don't give a shit. Who cares? So for Adora to strip away that we identity and go for herself, I could really use your help, right? That goes to what Catra says towards the end of this episode. Actually, before I talk about the end of the episode, I did wanted to make a note about Tsundere Catra. Catra's desire, like, alright, fine, I'll help you for all of this stuff, but, like, it's not because I like you or anything. What a tsundere, dude. What an absolute tsundere. But as they go through Mysticor and they get into certain fights and all that, we see Adora still has trouble channeling She-Ra. It only comes when she really, really, really needs it, right? In just the right moment, but in not the moments that she wants. So she still has trouble with that. And I already mentioned about how Adora tends to divert when it comes to Catra and the Shadow Weaver. There was also that one scene when freaking Adora is just walking in, again, not using any of her brain cells at all. It's just la-di-da-li-da, and Shadow Weaver's like, hold on, wait a second. Adora's just like, I'm gonna take one extra step. Ooh, I activated a trap! That gets Catra to immediately jumps into the fire. She jumps into the fire to save Adora, and it's very cute, you know, obviously. Catra cares very much for Adora, and Adora teases her about that. Well, not the fact that she cares, but, you know, she teases her and the fact that, oh, did you really just jump into the fire for me? Yeah, that's good. But that takes us on over to the fire hallway scene, and, you know, again, Shadow Weaver tells her that Catra's holding her back, yada yada, and she had said, the world needs you as She-Ra right now, not Adora. Catra hears this whole entire conversation because, of course, she is. She sees, you know, she has her eyes on Adora, and if she sees her with Shadow Weaver, she's going to listen. I will make mention of that quote in a little bit more, but as we get into the Artsea, the Crystal of Artsea, or whatever, Catra realizes, or she knows that Shadow Weaver's been here this whole time, because of course she's also been watching Shadow Weaver. She's like, hey, I know, like, you seem like you've been here before. It feel like you might have activated this before as well. Why didn't you get it? And Shadow Weaver, she's like, you're just being paranoid, trying to, you know, get her to lay off on that. But eventually she says that, yes, someone must sacrifice himself for the failsafe, right? Because all of that magic is gonna go into you and you're gonna get burned apart. But maybe She-Ra might be able to survive. And Adora's just like, well, what if I don't survive? And Shadow Weaver's just like, it's a worthy sacrifice, you know, at least your friends will survive. But, like, that's the... You know what? Hold on. I've been relaying this all from my head, but I want to see that scene again. 1 second. Yeah, so with Adora saying, what if I don't survive? Then the magic will be restored to Etheria through your sacrifice. You will bring us the power to... you give us the power to bring us to victory. Your friends will be free. And it's literally the opposite of what you just said, where you were like, hey, you need to let go of all these things that tethers to you, you know, so you can focus on being She-Ra. But if she lets go of all those things, would she care if whether her friends are free or not, if she had let go of her feelings for that? You know, it's a little confusing. You're sending mixed messages, Shadow Weaver. Anyways, Micah comes in with his dark magic shit, and they only realize he was using dark magic when he finally fully unleashes full magic of darkness, And they're like, oh my god, you're using dark magic. And I'm kind of over like, so has Micah been learning dark magic, or he had dark magic this whole time, or as Horde under control of Horde Prime, he's been studying dark magic? Who knows? I would maybe presume he might have had dark magic this whole time, but he just hasn't used it. Just because of like the whole spell of attainment, that whole situation. Who knows? Who knows? But Adora ends up going to get the failsafe, and in that moment, when she sees her friends in like true danger, right? She tried to transform once during the fight, and during this whole big fight with Micah and all these other magic people. She tried to transform, didn't work, because her friends truly weren't in danger. You know, they still had chances to survive, but once she saw them all engulfed by this dark magic, they're about to get, I don't know, deleted or something, she transformed into She-Ra. And like, again, that goes into the opposite thing of what Shadow Weaver talks about. And of course it goes to what Perfuma says in the last episode, right? My friends are my weakness, it's my strength. And so this is her strength. She literally transformed into She-Ra for the first time in this season because of Catra. And Shadow Weaver wasn't there. But then again, if Shadow Weaver was there, maybe something in her head would have clicked or whatever, or maybe she'd just still be like, get rid of Catra, who cares, you don't need her. When obviously Adora does. Anyways, she transforms into She-Ra, she beats up all the magic people by tying them together, with her magic sword that she just does a wave and then it like wraps them around. It really just does anything, her sword, Catra is sad, she's upset that Adora did this, she literally begged Adora, like, hey Adora, you don't have to do this. And Adora's just like, no, it is my destiny, it's my choice, it's not my choice, it's the choice that is best for everyone. I just wanted to make note about the scene with Adora going to get the failsafe and Catra telling her, no, don't do this, you don't have to do this, and Adora looking back at Catra before going into the failsafe or going to get the failsafe. It clicked in my head after I finished recording this, because as per usual, all the much better thoughts that I have always comes after I turn off the recording. But it made me realize that that part was basically how things went out in season 3 episode 4, when Catra was going to pull the lever to, destroy the universe or destroy the world or whatever, and Adora was begging her not to. Catra looks back at Adora, smiles, and then she pulls it. So I thought that was just a nice little thing to add in. So anyways, that's that. Just wanted to let you know, because it's anything including season 2 and season 3. I gotta make note of it. So she doesn't like that, and she decides that she's gonna leave the group because, again, understandably, if your loved one, the person that you care, and you're begging them to not go and sacrifice themselves, and they're just like, nah, I'm just gonna go and sacrifice myself, well, it's not really in Catra's position to watch you die. It's, sure, you have a slim chance of surviving, but that big chance of dying is still there, and so, understandably, Catra doesn't want to fucking see that. Like, don't make me watch you die. Alright, she's a cat, she's gonna go hole up somewhere or whatever. Maybe she'll meet Scorpia in her own time, as she's traveling somewhere, I don't know. Or maybe, actually, now that I think about it, you think she would end up seeing her old crewmates again? We haven't seen them since, like, Scorpia left, so who knows, maybe she might also see them as well. We have, like, the last 2 episodes, so those are just gonna be, I don't know, a lot of characters that we're gonna see all together in 2 episodes. Maybe, just maybe, who knows? During Catra trying to leave the group and Adora coming to chase her and try to drag her back, literally, Catra tells Adora, like, what do you really want? What, like, you've been making all these choices that's, like, good for other people, that's good for the world, but what do you actually really want? And I would presume that I feel like, all Catra really wants is for Adora to actually open up her goddamn ears, and also use her brain, and listen to Catra, right? She just wants you to pay attention to her and give these words some thoughts. But Adora doesn't, because we're in this high stakes situation right now, unfortunately. This is a point where, like, I agree with both sides, for both Catra and for Adora, because we're in this situation right now where Horde Prime could be fucking destroying the universe right now. Adora can't be thinking about what she wants to do, because what is that going to solve, right? What is her feelings going to solve? And I mean, I think if you solve your feelings, Adora, you would probably tap into She-Ra a whole lot more, but you never know. They're too much in turmoil with, like, Shadow Weaver being in there and all that jazz, so no bueno, no bueno. And so I wrote towards the end of my notes, I wrote that this, it's the idea of the hero and their ill-fated lover. So not to say ill-fated, but, the hero and, like, their loved ones, right? So it's the idea that Adora is willing to do this for the world, but she's not willing to do this for an individual, whether it's for herself or it's for whether it's for Catra, right? And that's why I feel like, going back to the beginning of all of this, when Catra decides to help Adora, because Adora didn't say we need your help, she said I needed your help, right? It's that sense of individuality that, like, oh, Adora is the one who needs me, right? So that's why I'm going to help you, and it's not because I like you or anything. And then it goes back to what Shadow Weaver says, right? The world needs you as She-Ra, not Adora. We need you as this hero who will step up and lead everyone. We do not need this individual, right? And it's like Shadow Weaver kind of trying to wipe out that, not to say that she is trying to wipe out, but she is trying to clear Adora of that identity as Adora right now, because you need to go do your fucking job and prevent the universe from exploding, because Horde Prime is trying to use the freaking heart. I suppose we had those moments in, it was still season 5, right? Where she had that dream? Yeah, yeah, it is season 5, right? Where she had Adora had that dream where she sees She-Ra, the embodiment of She-Ra, her destiny and whatnot, and she's just like, hey, what did she say? I forgot what she said during those times. A something destiny no more, or whatever. Is that what she said? I can't remember. But, ever since she assumed that She-Ra role again, it's right back to, I gotta do this for everyone. I gotta protect all these people, Shadow Weaver is the lesser of two evils right now, so we gotta work with her. God, dude, I mentioned during the recording that I'm like, oh, this feels like the that Baldur's Gate 3 decision. Do you want to turn into an octopus or not? And if I had a choice, I'd say no, Shadow Weaver. How about you become the octopus, huh? You want all that power, don't you? Fucking, actually, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't make Shadow Weaver. I'm saying octopus right now because I currently can't remember the name of what it is. And Illithid! There you go, that's one of its name. I wouldn't make Shadow Weaver an Illithid, that's a little bit too dangerous. Anyways, great episode, really enjoyed. Again, I feel like season 5 has been a lot of bangers. I mean, there are certain episodes that I'm just like, whatever. It's like that, it's that episode with, goddamn, I just forgotten their name. I cannot, Double Trouble, there you go. It's that episode with Double Trouble that I'm like, I don't care. But every other episode, I feel like they're fine. I mean, bangers, I mean. So, like, episode 5, again, still on the up and up. And we've got the finale, which is 2 episodes. I might just watch it together, but at the same time, really depends on how much I want to fucking talk, so I might just end up watching that not together. But you don't need to know that. But anyways, if I have anything else to say, I will write it in the comments down below. And, I don't know, I forgot how that, how the rest of that outro goes, so, goodbye.